إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفر ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Alhamdulillah, we are here again with our Tajweed class. This is our 8th class now. There are a few things you should know. I may be redundant in my statements, but I want to keep on reiterating the point. These classes are not for entertainment purposes only. It's not for entertainment purposes, period. We try to make you have fun, but we're trying to teach. We're trying to teach a class here. And I have to go back and correct a mistake that I was making when we were going through the idgham rule. We'll go through it in a lesson. I said, if everybody remembers the last sentence, I said you keep your mouth slightly open when you do the meme and the noon. That was a mistake. I thought about it and thought, hold on, I made a mistake during that class. And it should be direct, complete closure. Even though it has ghunnah, that is considered part of, again, complete ghunnah with the noon and the meme. So if you go back to that lesson, and I'm sure Makeen, he put some writings on that when the mistake popped up and everything. So, Jalla man la yashu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that doesn't make a mistake. And we're not too big enough to show that we make mistakes too. And even though it was a mindful mistake, even at that time I had asked the imam, did I make a mistake? Because I thought about it, and I remembered it when I got on the train. So go back. That part there, when we put the noon and the meme, I'll go through it through the book, inshallah. This week, okay, let me go back another further part. We've gone over a few things in this class. We started off with the introduction to the text. This text is a baby text, Tuhfatul Atfal. It's a text by the Sheikh Sulaiman Al-Jamzuri from Egypt, outside of Tanta. And we explained that this text is what a primer text in Tajweed, a beginner text in Tajweed. Then we went over the 10 things that everybody should know about a science. Went over that. Then we started with lahn and turuq and these different types of tilawah, different ways of reciting, so people should become familiar. Lahn is how many types? 2 types of lahn, right? Jali wal khafi. A light type, jali is big mistake, and khafi is a light mistake that you can get away with that doesn't really mess you up. Then we went over the types of tilawah, types of qira'ah. You know, we explained the difference between qira'ah, and there's 7 different types of qira'ah. Some say 10. We would agree that there are 10 ways of reciting the Quran. Actually, there are 20 ways of reciting the Quran, because each one of those qadis has 2 narrators of his style. So we went over that and how that people get that confused when they hear someone reciting differently. They think that's a different qira'ah, where it could be a different tilawah, a different style that a person is reciting from his own self. Like you have, Sheikh Abdul Basit, rahimahullah. He recites different from Manshawi, but they're not different qira'ah. They're just different ways of that person reciting that same exact style. And that is acceptable. Okay? And that's not considered a different whole style of reciting the Quran. It's just that person's way of reciting the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay? Then you have, wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Then we have, after that, we went directly to the text. We named the text. Now, when going through the text, the first thing we went through is the name that there's noon as-sakina with tanween. The first set of rules. Now, the rules follow sets. The first set of rules is concerning the noon, that is sakin, and the tanween. Right? Or when it comes to tanween. And we spent time explaining what a noon was, a clear letter that you can see. This is the noon. And that the tanween is one of these types of functions that you see. This is tanween. Whereas this sign represents the noon sound, where this is an actual noon sound. And we even went so far to explain what that was, that sukoon, how and what it came across from being a kha, and how it means khalin, meaning to be void of having any vowel sound. Okay? So we went through that, and then we went through the rules. We started going through the rules of noon as-sakina wa tanween. None of these lessons are difficult. That's another thing I'd like to point out. None of these lessons are difficult. These lessons are very easy. Anyone can follow them. The problem that we have as Westerners is being consistent. And not just being consistent, after finally being consistent in watching, doing the follow-up work, the behind-the-doors work, the actual study and memorization to make the text more than just something we're familiar with, but to make it something that we actually can teach. Because we started off saying, each one teach one, that we're doing this to empower, to enable, to make more people available to teach something that is something that no one can disagree about. No one can disagree about these things. The classes that we do come from classical works. That no one can say, oh, this is right. No, this is the way it is. And we try not to get into those things once you get a basis that you get into ikhtilaf about. Because what we have done as a people, we get into this great ikhtilaf about things that we have no foundation in. We don't even know the foundation about those things, but we want to argue about it. When we should know just the basic things. Who's going to argue about a sukoon? Who's going to argue about a noon? Okay, so the rules are, we started off, what's the first rule? The first rule is what? Idhar, right? I'm glad everybody called that out. The first rule is idhar, which means what? To pronounce something clearly, okay? And I made a point to say, to make the noon sound independent. Right? I like this language, independent, because the noon sound at times, this teaches us a principle, that sometimes the noon is not going to sound independent. It's going to be mixed. We call it idgham. Or it's going to be hidden. We call it ikhfa. Or it's going to get flipped. We call it iqlab. You know? So here when idhar, it is when the noon sound is clear and independent, leaving no doubt that you're saying an, in, un. And we went through each letter, ban, bin, bun, tan, tin, tun, through each sound, so that people can get a practical application of how this rule is applied. Okay? Because it comes before certain letters. What are the letters of idhar? The letters of idhar are hamza, faha'un, right? Thumma, aynun, ha'un. Muhmalatani means they don't have anything on top of them. Right? Then with dots, we have ghaynun, kha'u. 6 letters, and the thing that these letters are all similar in is that they all come from the throat. These are the letters of the throat. Intaha. We're finished with this rule. And then we gave an example of each one with the noon. Man, amana. You know, we started going through each one. We gave an example. Then we gave an example with the tanwin, juruf and har. If we go through, and we went through and gave an example for them, right? So that you will be familiar. And not all, but most of the examples came from where? Juz amma. Most of the examples came from Juz amma. Now we went to the next rule. The next rule, we come over here, traveling right along. The next was thani idghamun بغير غنة بستة أتت في يرملون عندهم قد ثبتت. So then here we said the second rule was idgham. Idgham, right? Now idgham, just like idhar, and from this word we have dhuhr, right? The dhuhr salat, dhahr, my back, something that's clear just to point to what the word is. And we notice a lot of times that the original meaning of a word is tied to its linguistic, its legal ruling, its legal application, I should say. The linguistic ruling or meaning of a word is usually tied to its legal application. Okay? I have too many L's in my throat. Okay, going. We have idgham. And idgham means dakhala shay fi shay, to enter something into something else. Okay, and I gave the example. Let's say you have a tube here, right? And you stick your hand, I'm not an artist, okay, inside the tube, so then all of a sudden you don't see the hand anymore, right? Depending on the thickness of this tube. If this tube is thin, then you see the shape of the hand. If the tube is thick, then you don't see the hand at all. Then I gave the example of cover and concealment. Right? This is the soldier. He's in between the woods. He's hiding. You can still see him though, right? Stick man. So that means that sometimes the noon is going to be, when we make idgham, somewhat you're still going to halfway see it. And then sometimes when the soldier's behind the thing he has concealed, he's totally covered, not concealed. Where you can't hit him and the bullets fly away, ping, go off of him. Right? So likewise, after understanding this example, let me go under here. We said, fi yarmaluna. Yarmaluna here is the ya, the ra, the mim, the lam, the wow, and the noon. في ستة أتت في يرملون عندهم قد ثبتت. In these 6 letters, it is strong and well established with the people of Adab, the people who recite. Okay? The people who do the performance of the recitation of Quran as their business. Not that they get paid necessarily, but that's what they be about. They say يرملون. Huh? لا أعرف. No, I need some. But here, I said yarmaluna is of 2 types, because I need to erase this thing right here. Yeah, to wipe the board off. I said yarmaluna is, idgham is of 2 types. Astaghfirullah al-azim. Idgham is how many types? 2 types. So you have idgham with gunna. This is with gunna. And you have idgham without gunna. Okay? Thank you. So idgham with gunna and idgham without gunna. Okay? Now what is gunna? Because gunna there's 4 types of gunna, but this is a beginning class. We're not going to talk about the different types of gunna and all of that, because really, at this stage, you wouldn't be able to perfect it. Wallahu a'lam. I'm not saying that you're not expert and you can't get it down like that. But for the most part, at this stage, the teachers don't teach you all the different types of the 4 types of gunna at this stage. What we teach you is what is gunna. Get the basic of what is gunna. Through practice, you'll realize it, and then you start thinking, oh, it is departmentalized. Right, like you just said, gunna is holding, like when you go like that, that's gunna. That nasalic sound, when you pull that air and it stops, because you're holding it in your nose, that is the concept of gunna. Okay? Now, idgham without gunna is in 2 letters, lam and ra, lir. Idgham with gunna is yanmu. If you learned your alphabet in master letters, it's always in that gang, yanmu. They'll make idgham before the noon, right? So here we have idgham with gunna is here, yanmu, in these 4 letters. The ya, the noon, the mim, and the wow. And here is where I made, yes, last week when we went over this, when we said ya and wow, we said it correct. Okay? But when we went over the noon and the mim, I said you have to split your lip, right? And when you're making that idgham, I'm going back to my examples. Excuse me. Okay. I said أن يضرب. أن يضرب. With this one, we said أن يضرب. Right here. I'm not talking to myself. Say أن يضرب. أن يضرب. Then we say here, on the second one, we said من نشاء. من. So here, you see this noon here? And this noon here, these 2. This noon has entered on this noon. دخل الشيء في شيء. So this is idgham until they became more than 1 noon in sound, but the sound is stretched out 3. So since they become, like you don't say man, you say man and you hold it. So you have gunna in it, but you don't wait. You go man nasha. That's where we go right there. And then when we did the wow, min waq, we said min waq. Okay? Say min waq. You get ready to say the noon. Say min. Now you get ready to pronounce the noon, but right when you get to that part where it goes, you don't say that. You go to the makhraj of wow. So you say, min. Waq. Right, so say min waq. Say min waq. This is incorrect. Now you say min waq. Instead of putting that noon in there, right? Clearly, you jump to the makhraj of the wow. Min waq. That's where we go. Then the next one, where I said min malin, we said min, say min, malin. Here is where I made the mistake last week when I said min, and I said make your lips across. You make your lips slightly open. Min, that's incorrect. That was for iqlab. Like I said, I don't know what I was thinking. MashaAllah. Astaghfirullah al-azim. What's correct is that this meme, and it's easy, this meme is considered to be complete idgham, just like the lam wal ra that we'll go over this week. Okay? You go completely to the meme. You say mim, close it. Mim malin. You go straight to the meme. Mim malin. The noon is not pronounced. So then why do we call it idgham with gunna and without? Because there's still gunna there. That's why it's not in the category with the lam and the ra. Because there's still gunna. So it's still not complete. It's complete idgham. But it's still idgham with gunna. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas the lam wa ra is complete idgham bighayri gunna, without any gunna. Okay? And I should have made note to that. But now I want to make it clear. So the meme and the noon, they're complete idgham. Because these categories of this is sometimes called incomplete, this is called complete idgham and it's called incomplete idgham. But that terminology is not necessarily the best one to have, because here you have complete idgham with the noon and the meme. What do you mean by complete idgham? Meaning the sound of the noon is completely eaten into the next letter. It is completely entered onto the next letter, so that it shows no more. It doesn't make a difference if that same letter is noon. The noon that we're working with is the second one. You understand? When we say, where's the word? Man nasha, we're working on this second noon with the shadda. We're done with this one. Because it entered upon that, right? No. We made idgham. So we're going, man, we're here. You see that shadda? No. That's what's making us stay there for the 2 count. Man nasha. That's what we're doing here. So this is complete idgham. Here, when we say mim mal, we don't even hear the noon. It's completely eaten into the next letter. We say mim. So don't make that was a mistake. Don't make it open. Like I said, mim, that's like ba'an. That's when we do that. You know, but here you make complete idgham, but meaning you make complete idgham, you completely go to the next letter and close your lips completely. That's a practical application. Does that make clear? Okay, let's move right along. Today's lesson is on lam and ra, which is, again, idgham bighayri gunna. Idgham without gunna, okay? Now, I did this quick review because, you know, people, this should become second letter. Second, what do you call it? Nature. You know, not that you shouldn't run into some questions here and there, but it's not that difficult. You know, it's not that difficult. It's really stair-stepped. You should be more than just familiar with these types of things. And again, I say again and again and again, no, you should not be going to become an expert in tajweed by watching a video. You're going to have to sit before somebody. But at least when you go sit before somebody, you will have the tools, the necessary tools that you need to benefit from that person in the best way you can, in the most effective and efficient way that you can. And he will be pleased by what you have and be able to take that in a shorter period of time and give you something that you're pleased with. You reach your objective. You know, inshallah, wallahu a'lam. You know, but that's the objective. Now you guys, it's different because you're here. You know? So we can do this a little bit different. But I'm talking about people who watch in internet land and all that other stuff. You know? They can benefit also by searching out those people in their communities who can do this. And then going to them and saying, okay, look, I read this, I have that, explain it to me, get deeper with me. And that will help them. And again, we empower more people. And you have a text to go through. And even if that person moves, you got up to chapter 5, then you start off again at chapter 4 when you get to the next person. Do a little quick review. But at least you don't have to start off at 0 anymore. And you have some tools with you already, some skills. Okay. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salam ala Mustafa wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man ittaqa. The next part of this poem, it says here, وَالثَّانِ إِدْغَامٌ بِغَيْرِ غُنَّ فِي اللَّامِ وَالرَّا ثُمَّ كَرِّرَنَّ. It says, and the next rule is, وَالثَّانِ إِدْغَامٌ وعليكم السلام بغير غنة في اللام والراء ثم كررن. Okay. والثاني إدغام بغير غنة في اللام. And this is just my sloppy writing. Okay, this is lam, lam, alif. Watch it again. Alif, lam, lam, alif. Okay? في اللام والراء. And this is just again my writing the way I do. والراء ثم كررن. كررن. مرصاد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. كيف حالكم؟ الحمد لله. لا بأس الحمد لله. كيف الأمور؟ الحمد لله. بارك الله فيكم. الحمد لله. That ain't 15 minutes though. Nah, that's cool, bro. Alhamdulillah. So what does this mean? This means here, the second. Here, when we say the second, we don't mean the second rule. We mean the second type of idgham. The second type of what? Idgham. The second type. The first type of idgham was the idgham with gunna. Now this is the second type of gunna. The second type of gunna, and it is called idgham bighayri gunna, without gunna. Here we have gunna, and then we do like this. No gunna. Everybody knows that sign. No gunna. No nasality, right? There's no holding that sound from the noon in your nose. Meaning that not only is the sound of the noon completely dissipated and disappeared, but the gunna is no longer there. So that tells us something else. That tells us that the sound is going to be light. Because gunna has a heavy connotation, right? And, mil, it's thick, as opposed to something that's going to come afterwards. So if it's going to be different, then obviously it's going to be oppositional, different, So we go without gunna, okay? بغير gunna. So fi lam, in what? In these two letters. In or regarding, with regards to the lam, okay? And the ra. A ra, or the ra. Thumma karriranna. Some people, thumma, it says then, tikrar. Tikrar or karriranna, which means learn how to master the rolling, that ra, the ra sound, without it bumping. Arr. Without saying arr. You understand? Don't let that tongue touch your gums. Okay? Say Ar-Rahman, or like you say Rodriguez. Say Rodriguez. You see the tongue touches? Now say it without your tongue touching. Rodriguez. You see how you have to make that raw? You have to change your whole mouth up so that you can say raw without letting it touch the gums in the front. That's karriranna that's takrir, without letting it touch the front part of the gums. So you have to master doing that if you're going to say that raw. Okay? Arr. You see, you don't let it touch. And we spoke about that. And Ra is given a lot of attention when it comes to tajweed. It has its own chapter because Ra is that important. And it's something that people make mistakes at, so you have to give a lot of details to it. Okay? So, moving right along, that explains the bait. That explains the verse of poetry. Now, how are we going to apply this? That's what we do next, okay? Very simple line. It says, وَالثَّانِي إِدْغَامٌ. And what's upon you to do is to memorize this line. To memorize it, and if you have memorized it already, then all you have to do when you come to class, say, okay, now I understand what it's saying. Now, how do I do that? Now, we know there's two types of idgham. What's the first type of idgham? Idgham with gunna. What's the second type of idgham? What are the letters of idgham? No. What are the letters of idgham? Yarmaluna, right? Or yarmiluna, right? That's what it is. Yarmaluna. Those are the letters of idgham. What letters of idgham are without gunna? What letters of idgham are with lam ra? What letters of idgham are with gunna? Yanmu. That's the gang yanmu. So, just make it simple, real easy. Here, this idgham is going to be in two ways. It's going to be with noon as-sakina, right? And it's going to be with tanween. We'll give you an example of each one. For the lam, here goes the lam, okay? We have min. Everybody say min. Min. Ladunna. Now watch. Here. Now you do not pronounce the noon. It's as if you wrote this. Mil. There's no sound on the noon. And you have to, because it's part of the structure of the word. Just like when you write the word, read that word. Eight. This has nothing to do with the sound. This has nothing to do, you know? It's part of the structure. It's how the word is written. Or when you write the word cough. Okay? This is the way the word is written. But these are not the sounds that, you know, produce that pronunciation. But this is what we call rasmiyan. This is the way traditionally or the standard form of writing this word. So much so that when you see the writing of the word, you understand what that word means. However, you don't pronounce it that way. You understand? For example, we have another word, mnemonic, right? What is it, mnemonic? I don't know how I'm spelling this. It's something like this, mnemonic or something like this. You don't pronounce the M there. It's pronounced new. Or like this one in English. New or no. The KN is there. But it's not pronounced. And if you wrote it a different way, it would have a different meaning. So if you wrote new like this, it doesn't mean the same thing as this. So the writing standard is something that you have to recognize. Then when you listen to it, you understand what together they mean. Because the shadda is very important. Okay? Because if you have that shadda there, you let that announces to the listener, oh, that's a noon that he's pronouncing. Milladunna. If you hold it properly, milladunna. So that lets you know what that sound is. There is no gunna in that pronunciation of that first noon. In fact, the noon is completely gone. Okay? Milladunna. So that's how we practice idgham without gunna. That's the first one. Sorry for all this erasing, but it helps visuals. The next one, still dealing with the lam, is something that we know this, we hear this all the time. I'm sorry. Hudan. Say hudan. Okay, now we don't say hudan. Okay? Now we say hudal. Hold it there. Hold it. Hudal. One of the mistakes a lot of people do is they rush off of it. Give it its right. Its right is for you to stand on it, then step off of it. That's how they used to tell us. Stand. Hudal. Why? There's a rule here that you have to understand about reading Arabic. Okay? In reading Arabic, let's do some transliteration. Woo. You say, I'll say this right here. Say Russ. Okay? In English, if we write that, we would say this. Russ. Okay? Russ. The sound is always emanating, the vowel, this is called a vowel, right? The vowels are A, E, I, O, U. Right? Sometimes Y and W too. These are sometimesies. Okay? Alternates, as we say. So, in this word, Russ, the vowel sound, it always animates and originates from the letter on in Arabic now. But I'm trying to show you how we can see that. It always is attached to the previous letter. It has nothing to do with this letter. Okay? This letter can be sukoon, or it can have its own vowel. Hence, we should write it like this. Ra, sa, rasa. They're not together. If this is a vowel like a hamza, okay, then we would have to write it ras, a. You understand? It has its own original sound. That's what we have to understand about Arabic in reading it. The vowel sound that's connecting is connected to the previous letter. Has nothing to do with this one. So, a combination sound like Rus. That means the sound, and every sound is given a beat, right? What's the sound of a beat? What's the timing of a beat? Miqdaru beat is opening your finger or? No, you got to know that so that you know what the rhythm. Alhamdulillah. You see, you're going on a certain beat. Alhamdulillah. You see, lillah, you open up. Alhamdulillah, you count it off. Rabbil alameen. You understand? Everything has a certain beat to it. So, when I say you step on that letter, then you step off that letter. What I have said is, here we have hudal. Everybody say, hudal. So, hudal is mushaddad. What does a shadda mean? What is it? Say it out loud, man. To strengthen it, right? So people can't hear you, they like your voice. They be like, yo, who's that guy right there? No. So, it's to strengthen a letter. For us, strengthening a letter is coming to its aid and having another letter just like it, right? Strengthen it with something just like it. So a shadda is equal to two lams, right? No. One has a sukoon over it. The other one has this vowel, kasra. But we say that by saying this. Because the Arabs love abbreviation. Remember your first lesson? I said you learn those lessons. Those are things that serious. We learn those lessons and we apply them. This is the problem that I have with us learning. We learn things and then we don't apply it. It's a rule. Rules are supposed to go all the way through. Attention to what? Details. You can say that in the metaphysical and you can say it in the physical. It still applies. You know what I'm saying? So, here, in order for abbreviation, we just put this little line here. The squiggly line here. And this squiggly line here lets us know that this is two lambs. So step on the first one and say, hudal. How long should it be? One miqdar, right? One timing. And then the second one, li. But since it's the same letter, you hold it as two. So you say, hudalil. You see what I did? I said, hudal. I landed. I have to completely land. My problem here that we're trying to address is that people go, hudalil. They didn't give it no time. Respect the letters, man. Respect everything on there. Ain't nothing on the page for no funny reason. It's there to be respected. So we say, hudalil. And so this one here has to be respected too. So if we go here again, it's lil. Okay? So there's 3 lambs. Right? So we would say, hudalil. You see that? And where do we do that? Not off the tip of our tongue, pushing to the front, like English speakers, on the side of our tongue. When it's on over here, we touch the gums very light. Remember your Arabic classes. So it's hudal. You see that? You do it right, not hudal, like la 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 la. No, this ain't English. This is Arabic. Hudal. You see that? Don't it sound clearer then? You said, well, where did they get that sound? They get the sound by doing their mouths right. Okay? Hudalil. Right, and then go back to it. Hudalil. You hear it? That's why it's crisp. And you hear it. So the person in the salah or the person that's listening, he relaxes. Wow, I hear that. I understand. And they can focus on the meanings of what you're saying. Because that's the objective to reciting. Right? Khushu', to remind yourself and to remind those who are in hearing distance, to push away the shayateen and to make it easy on the believer. That's why we make it in Islam, the legislation is to let the one who can recite the best to lead the salah. Even if someone might be more knowledgeable, but they recite it in a worse way, then you let the one that can recite it better go ahead. Okay? Because it's easier on the ummah. And encourages them to be in the salah. Everybody wants to pray behind a guy that can recite good. Right? Because they enjoy that. Comes with work. Okay? Use those plugs, man, because that thing's going to go out. Okay, so hudalil. So we have that there. Here, again, another point is that now there is no ghunna. And the noon sound that comes right here, because hudan is just exampled, is just like this, right? Hudan. Right? That's what this is sound is actually meant. Hudan. This is totally X'd out, and we go to the lam. Hudan. Lil. Right? So, our examples is milladunna. Nah, that ain't no good. Milladunna. There you go. Hudal lil muttaqeen. Muttaqeen. With this expression, this double ta here, say nighttime. Same thing. You say nighttime. Muttaqeen. Same expression. We act like we don't know this stuff. Ta'ammul. Allah tells us, think about it. Don't you Quran? Don't you think about the Quran? We use these expressions. Nighttime, it's a 2T, right? We put pressure on night and we hardly even hear it. Night, and we pressure time. Nighttime. Right? Muttaqeen. What's different? It's the exact same style of expression. Right? The ta. And do that with every letter in the alphabet. Do that with every sound. And think about the ones that you make. And you'll find, for the most part, we got this. You know, we got this. All right. Can I erase? Can I clean up? Okay. The next one is lam and ra. We're going ra, right? Just 2 letters today and we're done, right? Lam and ra. وَالثَّانِي إِدْغَامِ بِغَيْرِ غُنَّ فِي اللَّامِ وَرَا ثُمَّ كَرِّرَنَّ. That's an easy lesson. 2 lines. 2 letters. So let's go on. The second letter is what? What's the second letter? Ra. Come on, guys. You should knock me down. Ra. What's the next? Right? Ra. Ra. So we say min. Min. Hakim is the only guy here. Min. Rabbihim. Rabbihim. Okay, now, here again, the noon is totally eaten. It's totally made idgham. What is idgham? Dakhala shay fi shay. So the noon has completely entered into the ra. What is it? Unclick your fingers. That means there is no noon sound and there is no ghunna. There's no nasality. So we have to jump straight into this mirror. You understand that? Mirror rabbihim. Mirror. You have, because it's doubled. Okay? So you can't mirror. You don't do that. But you got to make it roll. I mean, it does repeat that sound. And it's coming from a kasra. Mirror. Mirror. Now it has the ba time to it because there's a double shadda, right? So that ba has to be sounded out. Just like you said mirror, you can't say ra. You have to say rab. But you can't let it go, right? So we know about the letters of qalqala. If you don't let them go, they can't express themselves. Because the sound, iqtibas, it's boom, it's pressed together. Say had. You see? Rub. You see, a sound only comes out once you let go. As opposed to the ones that are similar to them, like hamza, mu. You see, it whispers. Mu'min. Or ak. Or at. Right? You see, it whispers out. So they have the same type of sound, but they have their humps. So their humps lets them whisper out. But with these letters, like ba, right? Like id, lets it go. You know the id. They don't, ahad. You have to let it go, ahad. If you hold it, you don't hear it, ahad. But you have to say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. You see, you let that iqtibas go out, or it won't be sounded out. Likewise, this ba. So you have to say, مِن رَبِّهِمْ. It has to be shidda. Isn't one of the signs of ba, one of the sifat of ba, shidda? Mir Rabb. Complete it. You can't go Mir Rabbihim. Nah. Mir Rabbihim. And we're paying attention here mostly to the noon going into the ra. Okay? Mirror. Like we say mirror. You see, that's a good way. You see that word mirror? Mirror. Because that noon is no noon there. But you make the same type of pronunciation. Mirror. So just like you can do that without your tongue touching, you can do this one without your tongue touching. Right? Okay. And I don't mean that to say that mirror is the same as this, but I mean as an expression of how to sound it. Okay, the next one that we got there is Ghafurur Rahim. There's another one that is Ghafurun. Ghafurun. Okay? Now, say Gha. Gha is like the sound that we make when we say got. I got gum. Go. Those types of expressions are close to the line. Okay? Some people say gay. No, it's not anything to do with gay. It's gha, like gum and got and go. You know what I'm saying? That's the closest that we can get to it. So this is, when you see a fatha, you don't say ga. You understand my point? My point is that when you see this, you don't pronounce it like you say gay or anything like you say gha. It's still gha. Okay? Gha. Ghafurun. This right here is an expression of this, of tanween. Okay? That's all that is. Ghafurun. Right. That's how you pronounce it. Now, we're going to do this one right here. It has another ra. And the ha and the meme. So this one is mushaddid. Ghafurur Rahim. No, you ain't getting off like that. It's tight, guys. It's tight. You got to keep it tight. Ghafurur Rahim. And what makes these expressions unique is that this ha has to come with some strength. So if you use all your energy in saying Ghafurur, you won't say him properly. You'll say Ghafurur Rahim. I'm not trying to say it right. But that's what you do. But what you have to realize when you come to an expression like this is that you need more air. 2 words, yes, but the rulings in these words is tough. So you have to Take it in. Ghafurur Rahim. Right, you have to have that ha. Say ha. Ha. It cannot sound like ha. You can't say Ghafurur Rahim. People say that, Rahim. His name ain't Rahim. His name is Rahim. That ha. Okay? Ghafurur. Rur. You see my lips right here? Ghafurur. Rahim. But you don't let it go. Ghafurur Rahim. No. You got everything until you got to the ha. You understand? And then when you got to the ha, it dropped. You got to give the ha. But that's not our point right here. Our point is the idgham. Okay? So I want to just focus on that. That's what we have for today. Simple lesson. Simple lesson. Idgham with ghunna and idgham with ghayri ghunna. Okay? However, we know the noon and the meme have ghunna, but they're complete idgham. The noon is completely gone. Any questions? أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let's stop. Okay. How do I stop?